All right, folks, a lot's going on in the media world. Sounds like I've got something going on, so let's see if I can get rid of one of these and everything like that. Maybe Nick will come on and help me. We'll see what's going on in that space. But yeah, we got an echo thing happening, so we got to figure out how to get rid of the echo. So let's see if I can get. There we go. But yeah, there's a lot going on in the world in terms of media, including Pod TV. We've got a new show that'll be starting on Wednesday, and that'll be a show called Medicare Moments, where Tony King will be looking at Medicare and all along those lines. And she's definitely been a Medicare person that's seen a lot of Medicare fraud. So we've got Irene show that takes place regularly, and that'll be coming up at 1 o'clock here on the network and everything like that. But yeah, we'll be starting a new show dealing with Medicare Moments with Tony King. Of course, she's been on our World Edition and everything like that. I'm also trying to find for Nick, because I know Nick said he's interested in doing this, a show around real estate, because we don't have a real estate show at the moment, but I do know some people in the real estate business. So hopefully we'll get a show around real estate as well. So there's a lot of shows going on, and we're always glad to be learning about new shows. And if you've got a show idea, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We at Pod TV are always looking for new shows and new innovative ideas and everything like that. So definitely we got some shows that are very popular and that have done quite well and everything like that. So always interested in hearing about these interesting shows and what is going on in that space and all along those lines. I know that Nick is over there getting things situated for the clips that we did earlier for Economic Monday and everything like that. So definitely a lot's going on in the media landscape, and of course we're always glad to be talking about that, including some expansion stuff going on. So probably Nick's got to tell us more about this Pod TV expansion, since he's the one behind whatever expansion we've got going on. Him and Kim, who are the founders of this particular network, and all along those lines. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of expansion ideas they've got and what we'll be doing to expand here on Pod TV, which I believe is going in its sixth year, if I'm remembering correctly. I know we definitely started around the time of the pandemic, which would have been 2020, and this is 2026. So it sounds like it's been going on for about 6 years and all in that space. So it's always good when you can have these amazing conversations going on and have things happening in that space where folks are interested in learning more about media and the media world and everything like that. So always fascinating to have these media conversations. And of course, Donald Trump is very much involved in media news and everything like that. So we're always interested in bringing in the media and its role even in the political landscape. As of course, people are now planning to get involved in the celebration of 250 years of America and all in that way. I bet we just celebrated 50 years at the Haiti recently, so we're not quite as old as America, but we've been here for a while and everything like that. So it started in 76, actually the bicentennial year and everything. Well, actually 75, I guess would have been the actual year, the year before the bicentennial. But let's see what's going on in the news of media and see if there's anything that is interesting. Donald Trump's reelection, folks are saying last year, emboldened his allies to proclaim that he had vanquished the American news media as well as the vice president. And of course, he's now been going after some other folks, including after some of the folks that are involved in game shows and all along those lines. So definitely it'll be interesting to see how folks are thinking about this in terms of the media landscape and media news and everything like that. So definitely a lot's going on in the media, and the media is definitely a part of what is going on in the industry and everything like that. I'm going to look up CNBC and see what they've got to say about media news, because they've always got some interesting things to report on the news of the media and everything like that. Apparently, Disney is posed to ramp its already booming advertising business. So Rita Farrow is behind the push, and that was at Disney Upfront 2026, and they had a concert. I mean, not a concert. They had some announcements about what they're going to be doing, and Disney's ABC files an early broadcast license renewal. So definitely we'll see how this goes out as well. So definitely it looks like Disney is already posed ramp its booming advertising business. And of course, it's always good to see folks that are doing stuff in the advertising market, which is part of what the media landscape is. And by the way, we've got a branding show right here on the network that does quite well. That's also on Wednesdays, and that is Follow the Brand with Grant McGaw. So definitely that's a show that's been doing quite well here on the network for a number of years, and has always got some interesting things covering everything from AI to advertising to branding to marketing to a number of other topics as well. And of course, we've seen some great musicians that have been featured on Coco McMillan's show. And of course, there are some new shows that are out there now. We've got Dr. Diamond's show that airs, and they alternate between her and the Butterfly Room. And the Butterfly Room is with Miss Toya, and Miss Toya's been doing some good conversations, including with some folks that have been dealing with a lot of situations, including some abusive situations, and all along those lines. So definitely, it is a show that is very poignant and gets a lot of interesting comments out there and everything like that. So definitely, that is every other Friday. So her next show is actually scheduled for this Friday. So she should be having a show on the 5th and everything like that. So definitely that is something that folks will be talking about, and is one of our newer shows. I think is now going in its 12th or 13th episode, something like that. So she's done about 13 or 14 episodes, which means that she's one of the newer shows on the network. But like I said, she's had some authors on. She's had some people that have gone through different things in their life, because the whole notion of a butterfly room is the metamorphosis that we all go through in life and everything like that, no matter whether it's a positive metamorphosis or a less than positive metamorphosis. And sometimes it is relationship based and everything like that. So definitely that's something that she talks about regularly, and I'll try to get her on one of these shows of our media show to talk about her goals with that show, how that show was created, and how she's hoping to have a lot of conversations with people around that and everything in that space. So definitely that will be trying to get her in here to have some conversations and all in that line. So that'll be interesting to see how people play it out, and what's going on in that way. So I know that Nick's still here. He might still be doing those clips and everything like that. But hopefully he's gonna pop in and give me some thoughts around his notions around what's going on in the media world as well. Because like I said, it may be Rick or Toby will join us as well. So hopefully they'll be popping in the not too distant future as we share some of the media stories that are out there and what's taking place on the media landscape and everything like that. I know that some people are definitely concerned about their own local media coverage and whether it is positive or negative and how they are doing in their area. So no matter where you are in the world, share with us how your media is doing. Maybe you're liking what some of your independent media is doing. I know here in this area, we've got the Independent, and we've also got magazines like Spectacular, which I know will be hosting a Juneteenth coming up in about 3 weeks and everything like that. So sometimes these media outlets are also the promoters of entertainment as well. So it'd be interesting to see what folks have to say about the media outlets in their particular towns and all in that way. So very much would be curious to see what folks have got to say about media in their part of the world and what they're hoping to put out there and everything like that. The new 60 Minutes head, Nick Bilton, says Paramount CBS News hired him to pivot the show for the rating decline. So definitely that is something going on. So Paramount Skydance at CBS News has hired Nick Bilton as the new executive producer of 60 Minutes, ushering in a new era for the number one rated news broadcast for the past 52 years. Bilton replaces Tanya Simon as the show's executive producer. Simon has spent more than 30 years at 60 Minutes. In contrast, Bilton has no experience running a TV news show. So we'll see how this plays out, because he doesn't have any experience whatsoever at running a TV news show and everything like that. So Bilton is a former New York Times technology columnist and has made several documentaries for HBO and Netflix. He chose CNBC. He first met CBS News editor-in-chief Barry White socially in Los Angeles, and later spent time with her working on two documentaries, Unknown, Killer Robots, and The Biggest Heist Ever. One of Bilton's biggest initial challenges will be winning over CBS News employees who believe many of the changes being implemented in the newsroom are politically motivated. The Skydance and Paramount merged last year, putting new leadership in charge of CBS and other Paramount properties, including the storied film studio and more nascent streaming business. So we're going to see how this all plays out. So apparently they've got somebody in that doesn't have that much experience, Rick, in terms of that whole notion. So the 60 Minutes change is the latest major programming shakeup by CBS, which earlier this month aired its last episode, or earlier last month, or last month, I should say, of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, after 11 seasons, having declined to renew the show. And Bilton says Weiss is bringing him now, while 60 Minutes ratings are still rising, up 90% from the year prior, according to Nielsen, to pivot the show before it's too late. It's still the number one news.
Yeah, the key word is decline. The natural trend for broadcast shows, ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, is year-over-year decline as people find other ways to be entertained and informed. It's just because we know it. Everybody knows that there used to be three channels, and that's it. You got what you got, and that was it. Now you have so many other ways of spending your time, which means that the broadcast channels generally lose a few percent of viewers every year. And if there's a thing like a strike, which shuts down production, you can lose 10% of your viewers. You don't get them back. So fucking around with 60 Minutes, which, as you just said, surprisingly had increasing viewership numbers, getting in there and screwing it up is so dumb and so bad for CBS and for journalism in general.
Yeah, it sounds like that would be very bad for journalism in general and everything like that. It does look like, as I was looking up this article, that it says that as what this gentleman says, that's taken over, is still the number one news broadcast in America. But history tells us disruption doesn't happen immediately when new technology comes along. It's usually a few years later. Bilton said, we're on the precipice of this happening to broadcast TV. What was the best years of sales for Nokia? It was 2008, 1 year after the iPhone came out. And then he said blogs came out in 1987, 98, and the New York Times had its best years of sales in 1999. So it seems like what he's saying is that blog kind of like pushed things with the New York Times, and the same with Nokia and the iPhone. And I've been wondering that because I think, well, I've got a, a Substack, and I may start putting it out more often and everything like that. But maybe that's something that Pod TV needs to do, is get a blog out. I know that's something I think that Kim was trying to do with the website and everything like that. So
all that takes work and time. I talk about OnlyFans a lot. For somebody who doesn't spend any time on OnlyFans, I talk about OnlyFans a lot. But you can't just show your butt on OnlyFans. You have to make friends. You have to grow your subscriber base by becoming friends with the guys who are paying $5 a month to subscribe. And you can't just show you have to do activities. You have to go to a national park and go, here I am at Mount Zion, and people want to be. It's a lot of work. Social media is time consuming.
Well, speaking of being time consuming, how much of a fan club? I was talking to somebody online, and they said they'd go regularly, I think, but they were going to. Matter of fact, it was Viviana that does our Latin show, said she's going to try to curtail her use of TikTok. TikTok can become very addictive. I know that I, for a minute there, was becoming semi-addicted to it as well, but now I try to put some clips on it, but not spend too much time in there, because you can find everything from some good DJs that are playing just regular music, to some folks that are hawking products, to folks that are doing a number of things in TikTok. So it's kind of like
a new thing is verticals. Vertical is a show that you watch on your phone, and instead of being this format, it's this format. And Issa Rae, who is a performer, she had an HBO show. She's done a lot of stuff. She's done the most successful vertical series, I guess, ever. It's a 57 at 1 minute episode, I think, suspense show that, like I said, has 1 minute chapters about fighting hackers, and it's made with professional actors. It's professionally produced, but it's made for TikTok.
It's a TikTok, and I have seen some people on both TikTok and YouTube developing their own series, like teledramas and everything like that. So even some telenovelas. But yeah, it ought to be interesting to see. Maybe that's something else.
It's a ton of work, and And I don't know, this guy who's been brought in to try to save 60 Minutes, that guy's 58 years old, which
Yeah, he's
means like, and doesn't have TV experience. So, like, is he going to save 60 Minutes, or is he going to be more of the destructive problem that's going to further dismantle it?
Well, speaking of further dismantling, it looks like a major company is going to have a major events in 2027, and it's going to help drive their advertising revenue. But apparently, Disney will host the Super Bowl, the Oscars, and the Grammys in 2027, all of which are major drivers of advertising and revenue. So, global advertising chief Rita Ferro has been leading the charge and is in the midst of upfront negotiation with advertisers. She's at the center of the media industry, rediscovering the importance of advertising as traditional TV, streaming, digital, and social platforms all jockeying for viewers and dollars. And I know that the Super Bowl ads can be quite astronomical. Some of these other ones can be astronomical as well. So it looks like as Rita Ferro, Disney's president of global advertising, prepared to take the stage at the company's recent upfront presentation, which I think they did this weekend, called Upfront 2026. She had actor Paul Anthony Kelly on her mind. Kelly recently portrayed John F. Kennedy Jr. in the limited FX TV series Love Story and met Ferro at an earlier event after a fangirl moment that included an iPhone snapshot. Ferro requested Kelly introduce her at the annual pitch to advertising. That's the Disney difference, she said. Trust, innovation, and unrivaled fandom. Not just the stories they tell, but how they operate as a company. Kelly said on stage earlier this month.
So,
All of that is due in large part to Rita Ferro. She claims to be my biggest fan, but honestly, I think I'm hers. So apparently there's a lot of fandom that goes on even in the advertising media world.
so upfronts are where you go to New York this time of year. All the networks wine and dine advertising agencies saying these are our shows for the upcoming year, and trying to get advance advertising bookings in the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, which helps, I guess, finance the productions.
Right.
And they get, and this time around, I probably this year, Super Bowl ads might break $4 million for a 30-second ad. And so, yeah, what was I gonna freaking? I mean, I don't know. That's anyway. Those are upfronts. It's a dog and pony show with your biggest stars.
Well, speaking of dog and pony shows, I'm seeing this breaking news is waiting for it to come back. But apparently, we use StreamYard, but apparently another popular telecommunication media is apparently doing well and everything like that, because they're saying stocks making the biggest moves midday today include MGM Resorts and Zoom Communications. So apparently Zoom Communications is up there with MGM Resorts and NVIDIA and Viasat and IBM and more. And I know we used to be called IBM TV, but Zoom apparently is doing well as a stock and everything like that, and as a business. So I did not know that Zoom was doing that well. But that's
all right. So let's ask why.
Well, why is Zoom doing well?
Due to, all right, well, this can't be right, because it's saying that Zoom had a strong fiscal Q1 of 2027. So this is obviously a thing where AI has it wrong, because 2027 hasn't happened yet.
They probably meant 2026, just kind of like
maybe so, but okay, but it's as you might suspect, all these stock increases are because of AI, strong right. AI adoption. Monetization of AI is accelerating, with paid AI companion users skyrocketing 184% year over year. So I guess what they're saying is that some people are going on Zoom to have Zoom meetings with AI boyfriends and girlfriends.
Quite possibly, because there's a lot of those AI boyfriends and girlfriends that are out there and everything like that, and all along those lines. So you got people that are out there. That person that I played earlier on the news show, the little small person, and I think that's the correct politically term. Apparently, they are very well known in the TikTok world and in the AI, in the world of some of the other things that you talked about and everything like that. So apparently, they are a media creator or whatever, content creator. and apparently they do quite well with their content, whether that's them walking through the mall and being recognized as a short woman wearing tight clothes and everything like that, or whether that's them doing other things to get themselves recognized and everything like that. So, what are you doing to get Naked at Night recognized? Are you going out and
I'm
doing
not
something?
doing anything. I'm very lazy. And in fact, I've put a moratorium on Naked at Night because the argument Lance and I had was so, I guess, physically disturbing to me that within a week after doing that show, that we can never show again because it was so rancorous, I got a light case of shingles, even though I've been vaccinated against it. So I don't want to do a show that's going to make me sick.
No, we don't want to have you getting
I
sick.
mean,
That's not
I
allowed.
like conflict. I used to, when I was a bigger guy, I was a bar bouncer for 25 years, and conflict is part of that job where you're telling drunk people they can't be jackasses and they have to leave, and they don't want, and so you're arguing with people a lot. And I used to enjoy that. But if it's going to make me sick, then no, I don't want that.
Yeah, you definitely don't want that. I'm also got to figure out what Disney's doing with their early broadcast license renewal, because that was the other media story that I just saw really quickly. So apparently they're doing something. So I'm going to click on that because apparently the FCC chair is vowing to follow them. So it says, let's see what this story is about. Disney's ABC filed a renewal application for 8 of its broadcast station licenses on Thursday after the Federal Communications Commission launched a review years ahead of their scheduled expiration. So apparently they're going to have some of their stuff expiring, and they had to
Well, what's
renew.
going on with this is that Carr guy, who's a Project
Right.
2025 guy. He's a guy who doesn't like. I mean, Trump puts all these people in charge of federal agencies who don't really like what they are in charge of. Like Linda
Right.
McMahon is in charge of the Department of Education. Doesn't want there to be a Department of Education. Wants to dismantle it. Similarly, Carr doesn't particularly like any broadcaster who is at all critical of Trump.
Right.
And ABC has Jimmy Kimmel, and Kimmel, look, Kimmel, I can tell you just from common sense, no late night host wants to make fun of the same thing night after night. But he's put in a corner because Trump does shit that is you have to make fun of day after day. And so nobody wants to joke about I worked on that show during the Michael Jackson era, during the Britney Spears era, and you get joke fatigue where you do 4 shows a week. Friday's generally a rerun, and you have to come up with 4 monologues. And if Britney Spears, you have to talk about her 3-4 days a week for 10 weeks in a row because she's spiraling out of control, you run out of stuff to say. And also it gets sad. I mean, Trump is a jackass, and sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it's sad what it does to the country. And they've had to joke about him for a solid decade.
Well, speaking of folks have to joke about all the time, and it's in baseball season right now, but football isn't that far away and everything like that. And I'm understanding that I guess that famous singer will be marrying her football
Travis
athlete and
Kelce.
everything like that. So are we seeing anything about their news and what's going to happen with their wedding? Is the wedding taking place and everything like that? So
I don't know. I mean, you can go
last I heard, I
online.
think it will take place.
You can bet about what color wedding dress she's going to have. Let's see what I can tell you. Entertainment. Let's not finding. You used to be able to bet on on all sorts of details of their wedding and who is going to be the maid of honor, all this different stuff. So yeah,
I imagine you can bet on, like you mentioned, the hockey. It's got hockey fever here. I imagine you can bet on who's going to score the first goal for each team and what the goal differential will be and things like that. Because I know that I even saw on some of the broadcasts I was watching that they were guessing who would score the next goal even when the scores were tied and things along those lines. So I'm sure that those are some of the bets that you can make as to who will score. But you probably also could bet on.
the online bookie that I look at it doesn't have that many weird prop bets as some places. So they're not offering that many. Let's see. Wait, hold on. Maybe not. Hold on. Series props. All right. So maybe I'm wrong. Let's see what we got for props. Most score, you can bet on who's going to score the most goals. Andrei Svechnikov, that's one of your guys, is the favorite. Number you can bet on the number of games in the series, whether it goes 4 or 7.
Can you bet on the colors of the of what they'll be wearing after they get out of the game?
No. Yeah, my bookie doesn't have that much crazy stuff.
So he's not gonna bet on what shirt the person will be wearing or what t-shirt.
No, mostly reasonable stuff.
Mostly reasonable bets, not the crazy bets.
No, but I mean, I'm sure you can find a place if you look around a little bit.
Oh, if you look around, you can find just about any place for anything and everything like that.
I mean, America has a gambling problem. Well, let's see, what percent?
I mean, there's so much stuff you can bet on. You can bet on baseball games. You can bet on hockey. You can bet on.
So
I even saw a clip today.
So surveys indicate that 37% of Gen Z respondents self-identify as having a gambling addiction. So among young adults and college-age individuals, approximately 6 to 7% meet the clinical criteria for a severe gambling disorders. So with another 10% being borderline.
Our good buddy Liberty Twitcher came back and he's got things to say and everything like that. He says that's like the left in terms of prosecutions and everything like that. That's when the left elects prosecutors who don't prosecute San Francisco and LA. So he's been very conservative, and he would be as a Liberty Twitcher. And he said a lot of young people think they're investors when they bet on prediction markets.
That's true. That's entirely true. They think they're geniuses. Like if 3 million people bet on a game, half of them are going to win the bet and think they're, on average, and think they're geniuses.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing. The same guys who think they're crypto geniuses might think they're gambling geniuses.
Yeah, they think they're gambling geniuses. Think that they're going to get away with everything in terms of gambling. Maybe this will bring our good friend Nick out and everything, but he said, but a story I saw on CNBC says more workers are rating their 401k as averages business balances are falling. So this came from Fidelity, but they're saying that the averages balances are falling. So therefore, a lot of workers are rating their 401k. I know I've thought about rating mine.
Yes, and when you do that, you not only you pay a 10% penalty. So you owe the IRS a 10% penalty in addition to the taxes you would have. It's a bad deal, and these people are probably in pretty bad trouble to be doing that.
Yeah, they got to be in bad trouble. Maybe they're in different other things. Yep, they could be doing that. Yeah. What other media things you seeing in the news on your side?
Let me take a look here. So Musk's trans daughter has teamed up with Rihanna for a fashion line and an underwear line.
Well, speaking of that, and speaking of Pod-TV expansions, I am talking to the formerly known as Tiffany. She was one of my guests on the online dinner party, and she is a fashion model and a fashion a fashion show director and stuff like that. So we may be talking to her because I'm supposed to meet with her. We're supposed to meet on Sunday, but she has stuff going on in her work world and everything like that. But there is a possibility we may be starting a fashion show here on the network as well, because she's got that kind of background. So there may be
All
a
right, so
fashion show coming to the network.
here's a story. Clint Eastwood, it's his 96th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And his son says he's retired now. His last movie was Juror Number 2, which was released when Eastwood was 94.
So that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. And he didn't do any press for it. So people are thinking he's retired. Though he might get antsy again and he has a production and direction style where he doesn't spend years developing a project. He gets a screenplay, he shoots the screenplay, he does 1 or 2 takes, and he's done super fast. Because in his 90s, he doesn't have time to mess around.
No, he's old.
So and sometimes it shows in the quality of some of the takes in his movies and some of the dialogue but he might get bored and do another movie. Who knows?
What was Jury
now he's retired.
What was that Jury movie about? I don't remember seeing that one.
Juror Number 2?
Yeah.
It was about it was a thriller kind of about a guy who was involved in a crime but managed to avoid being implicated and gets put on as part of the jury for the person who was charged in the crime. It was an okay movie.
Okay.
It was all right. It could have used, like I said, a little more going over, but that's not his style.
That's not his style at all.
So you said that MGM Resorts is surging in stocks today. That's because Barry Diller is trying to buy a majority interest of MGM Resorts for $18 billion.
$18 billion?
Yes.
Wow. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. What are the implications?
That's nothing for Rick. You've got that hanging out of your mattress.
What? No. The joke I always tell is, and it's never funny, is some people don't make $18 billion in their whole life, and it's a dumb joke because it doesn't work. It's what else?
Speaking of things that don't work, I did see that there's a movie called Backrooms that apparently is turning an online obsession into a box office gold. So what do you know about Backrooms, and what is this online obsession that is turned into box office gold? Because apparently
I don't know anything about that.
Well, it's a movie called Backrooms, and apparently it's turned an online obsession into a box office bonanza, and that was reported in the Wall Street Journal yesterday.
All right, so going to AI, I must cause so much pollution asking AI about everything. So the AI says the Backrooms is a viral urban legend and creepypasta. I don't know what a creepypasta is, born on 4chan in 2019. It describes a massive, endless maze of empty, unsettling office spaces that people accidentally enter by no clipping out of reality. I don't know, it seems like and here's the movie. People end up in, what is a creepypasta? A creepypasta is a horror-related legend which has been shared around the internet.
And it's called a creepypasta?
A creepypasta, yeah, like Slender Man. Why is it called creepypasta? I don't know.
I never heard of this term. You got a new one on me.
I've never heard of it before. I just saw it.
Creepypasta.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the other big media news that we forgot to talk about. Didn't Donald Trump Jr. just get married to somebody this weekend?
Yeah. The daughter of one of Trump's financiers, I believe.
The daughter of one of the
somebody who, or maybe one of Epstein's, something semi-unsavory.
No, semi-unsavory, not totally unsavory, just
Well, I
semi-unsavory.
mean, she's the daughter. She didn't finance Epstein. Her dad did.
Gotcha.
Um,
And the other media stories, I know a lot of people are talking about Jill Biden and what she said about the in her interview at CBS.
let's talk about that. I talked about it earlier, but Jill Biden's being criticized for releasing a book now, right before the midterms, which talks about the challenges of being in the White House, and she talks about his disastrous debate by where he was loopy when he debated Trump, which eventually, within a few weeks, led to him having to withdraw from the presidential race.
Gotcha.
And she wonders, was he drugged? Or was it because we gave him cough syrup? Well, it's definitely because they gave him cough syrup. That there's a thing that is such a, it's senior fucking where you're diluted. What a senior
Alzheimer's, dementia.
no, it looks like dementia, delirium, senior delirium. And the deal is, like, if you take a 40-year-old person and you give them 4 shots of tequila in 15 minutes, they will get a little loopy, unless they're 300 pounds, right? So if you give a normal-sized person 4 shots in 15 minutes, that'll take their blood alcohol over 0.08, and they shouldn't drive. If you gave them 1 shot of tequila, they would probably be okay to drive. Their blood alcohol would be only 0.02 or 0.03. But an older person, their margin they don't have that 0.08 margin that you can give somebody in their 80s can get a bladder infection, a UTI, or a cold, or you can give them cough syrup, and they have no margin where, you give me a shot of tequila, give you a shot of tequila, we'll be fine. We can talk. We're not going to, somebody over 80, you give them a shot, you give them cough syrup, that they don't have any margin of safety. They will end up in temporary senior delirium. And nobody knows about this unless you have an older parent whom this happened to. It happened to my mom. She had surgery, a minor surgery where they went in and they replaced a heart valve. She was only, on the operating table for maybe 90 minutes, but she was delirious because she was in her mid 80s for 3 or 4 days. She didn't know where the hell she was. It just a minor procedure tipped her over. My uncle Jerry was 92, had a bladder infection. Looked like he suddenly descended into Alzheimer's, except that a doctor who knew about senior delirium said, let's test him for bladder infection. They tested him, they gave him antibiotics. He came right out of it. So that's what happened to Biden. He had a cold. They gave him cough syrup. Biden had no margin of safety for stuff like that. He got loopy and he fucked up the debate. And what's inexcusable is that nobody in the White House was a gerontologist, was an expert in senior medicine who could have looked at the situation and said, you cannot risk giving him cough syrup. He had a cold, just postpone the debate. You don't give a guy like that who's 81. But nobody was a gerontologist.
Nobody was a gerontologist. They didn't have the thought to do that and everything. There was a couple other quick things, and I got to get ready to do Irene's show and everything like that. But they did say that Jimmy Kimmel says late night TV is being poisoned after Stephen Colbert was taken off the air and everything like that. And Dennis Quaid has filed a child support modification to end monthly payments to his ex-wife as their kids are graduating high school. So real estate agent Kimberly Buffington and Quaid share 18-year-old twins Zoe and Thomas, and the actor is currently married to yoga instructor and public.
All right, let's see what Jimmy Kimmel. Let's see the Jimmy Kimmel thing here.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel, the headline from Variety. Kimmel felt defeated by Colbert's cancellation and says late night TV is not dying of natural causes. We're being poisoned. So, what he's saying is that the Trump White House is killing. Kimmel says, I feel a little bit defeated about it, Kimmel told Vulture after Colbert's final episode. In a lot of ways, I feel like I'm looking at my own future.
Yeah, that might be the case and everything like that. The other is, go ahead.
Kimmel, so Paramount Skydance said that Colbert was losing $40 million a year. Kimmel says he finds that hard to believe. Because Colbert, before the cancellation, Colbert was offered a 5-year contract. And Colbert said he didn't want to be locked up for that long. He took a 3-year contract. Kimmel says, am I to believe that over the course of those 2 years, they suddenly started losing $40 million a year? These are just made up numbers. And if you've been involved with entertainment, you know that entertainment financial math has a ton of made up numbers. There's so many ways that, like net points, like if you're an actor in a movie, they say, well, we'll give you 1% of the profits once the movie starts making money. There are hit movies that have been out for 40 years, like Back to the Future. I don't know that Back to the Future has ever made any money for anybody who had net points. Because they find ways to doctor the numbers. And so, Kimmel is probably right when he says that Paramount, there was a certain amount of bullshit in saying that Colbert was losing all this money every year.
One of the biggest ways to doctor numbers and everything, and it's a very common one, I've done it myself and everything like that, is that if there is a...
Well, hold on, let me finish the Kimmel deal. Kimmel says there are far more people watching late night TV than there ever were. If you look at the number of views me and my colleagues get online every day and add in our linear television ratings. Linear television is when you watch a show on TV at the time it's broadcast, as opposed to watching it streaming later or on YouTube.
Right. But that comes back to what I was going to say. But that comes back to what I was going to say, Rick, because like I said, if I'm watching the Jimmy Kimmel, or if I'm watching one of the other late night talk shows, and I get up to meet my DoorDash driver or my DoorDash delivery, or I get up to wash the dishes or whatever, and then I come back to watch it again, aren't I really two watchers and everything like that? Because that's what happens in concerts, is that if you go out, in particular if it's a rotating door, and you go out and you come back, then you are actually counted as two people.
There are various ways of counting viewers, and none of them work very well because people have all sorts of different behaviors.
Right.
But, so here's Kimmel's contract was extended in December by just 1 year instead of the standard 3. Everything is so tumultuous, Kimmel said. It's definitely not how it's gone in the past. Asked if he has thought about retirement, Kimmel said he's still unsure when his time will come. It's important to me to be responsible, he said. I know I could go out in a blaze of glory and get a lot of applause, but that would be a very selfish thing to do, because Kimmel has roughly 260 employees. So he could, like he said, he could go out and say, F you, Trump. So I think Kimmel will try to hang on as long as possible for the sake of all the people who work for him and have worked for him since 2002.
Yeah. But on that note, we're going to get out of here because I got to get ready to start her show very shortly and everything like that.
All right.
Serena Williams is back in the news. Apparently, she's got a match in the French Open or wherever they're doing currently. And I know Coco Gauff is also in that match as well. But right now, we're going to get out of here. We'll talk more sports and media.
Tomorrow. Thank you.
No problem.